In this question, we want to be able to construct a histogram. And so we're going to construct a histogram and then answer the given questions. Okay, now we're going to use the frequency distribution that we created from the previous problem to construct a histogram. So the first thing we want to do is we need to label our graph before we create this histogram. Now if you take a look, we have our age and years, and there are our classes, and then we have our frequency. Well, if you notice, the age and years start at 40 and then end at 74. Now this is going to represent the horizontal axis or the x-axis. So if you come down here, okay, we're first going to title this as the age and years. Okay, and then what we want to do is the following. We want to then add the years. So this would represent 0 right here. Okay, and then we have 42. And then the next one is 47, and then 52, 57, 62, 67, and 72. Okay, what are those numbers? Well, let's take a look here. 44 and 40 and 44, what is the midpoint of those two? Well, the midpoint is taking the following. Okay, if we take 40 and add 44 and then divide that by 2, that gives us 42. So therefore that represents the midpoint. Okay, let's take a look at the next one. Okay, you have 47. So what is the midpoint of 45 and 49? Well, 45 plus 49 and then divide that by 2 gives us 47. Now if you wanted to, you can continue to do that, or we know that the class width is 5, so now we just need to add 5 to each particular number. So now this means this is the midpoint of each of the classes, so now we can go ahead and then complete the horizontal axis. Now what we want to do is take a look at the y-axis, which is the vertical axis. So we're going to call this the frequency. Now notice that we start at 1 and then we go all the way to 10. So in this case here, we're going to start at 0, okay, and then go to 2, and then 4, 6, 8, and then 10. Now this doesn't represent any midpoints. It just allows us to be able to come in here and then make sure that we have all these numbers that we need to then put in there. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to do the following. Okay, we have our class which goes from 40 to 44. So technically this goes from 40 to 44. And we know that it goes up to 2. So therefore we're going to draw a first part of our histogram. Okay, and therefore there is our histogram, okay, for the first one, which means the frequency is 2, so it goes up to 2. Now for 47, it goes up to, from 44 to 49, this gives us 7. Now I want you to notice that these have to touch for a histogram. If they do not touch, then it's not considered a histogram. So they have to touch. So the bars of the histogram have to touch for it to be a histogram. And you notice this goes all the way up to 7. Okay, for the class between 50 and 54, it's going to go all the way up to 10. And then for the class of 55 and 59, this is also 10. And then 60 to 64 is going to go all the way up to 6. 65 to 69 is going to go all the way up to 3. And then 70 to 74 is going to be 1. So what would be nice to do is just label the top of that. So we can say, okay, well this represents 2. Okay, this is 7. This is 10. This is 10. This is 6. This is 3. And therefore that's 1. So now we've created our frequency, we constructed a histogram of a frequency distribution. Okay, now the next question is, does it appear to be the graph of data from a population with a normal distribution? Well, it starts low, and then it gets a little high, and then it starts at the top here, and then it goes back low again. Therefore, since that does that, we can say that it actually comes from a population with a normal distribution. So we would say the histogram does appear to be the graph of data from a population with a normal distribution.